So good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us. We will give folks a few more minutes to join us here. I know there are a few participants still joining. But my name is Marlon Blake, and I serve as one of the Assistant Dean of Students here at the University of St. Thomas. And I really want to thank all of you for joining us tonight. My role here is supporting students who are concerned, but most importantly, I also support parents as our parent and family liaison. And so I really, again, want to thank all of you for joining us tonight. So to kind of give you a little bit of idea around our format for the evening, I'll introduce my different colleagues tonight, and they'll share a few minutes about their office or give their general thoughts. And then from there, we'll go into a quick question and answer period. Many of you submitted questions before. We may not have time to get to all the questions, but I do hope that we'll get those answered to the best of our abilities. And for those questions that don't get answered, we'll follow up subsequently in another email to answer those questions, because again, we won't have time to get to all of the questions. So first, I would like to have our president, Dr. Julie Sullivan, join us to share a few minutes with us to kind of share her thoughts. So Dr. Sullivan?
Sure. Thank you very much, Marlon. And thank you to all of our parents who are here this evening. I so appreciate Marlon's work to help us stay connected with you and be a resource for you. And I so appreciate your dedication to your son or daughter's education. It's been a challenging couple of years, and I know that you have walked beside your children and helped them sustain in this educational journey. And I hope they are flourishing and thriving right now. Tonight's conversation is about experiential learning, but before I make a few comments about that, I'd like to just make a few comments about the fact that you may have heard that this is my 9th year as the president of University of St. Thomas, and I will be stepping down at the end of this academic year. I'm going to become president of Santa Clara University in California as of July 1st. And I just want to tell you what a wonderful, wonderful blessing it has been for me to lead St. Thomas for these 9 years. It is an extraordinary university, and I'll speak a little bit about that in a moment. But really the pull for me to go to Santa Clara is during my time at St. Thomas, I've had 4 grandsons have been born, and another one is expected in April. So 5 grandsons, and all of them live within half an hour of Santa Clara University, and they're 8, 6, 4, 2, and a newborn. And I just feel the pull of wanting to continue my vocation, which is Catholic higher education, but also be a part of my grandsons' lives and also rejoin my husband in California. So, but I just want to assure you that your son and daughter are in fabulous hands at St. Thomas. St. Thomas is the most student-focused university at which I have ever worked. Our staff and our faculty are totally centered on helping your students, your son, your daughter, become the person God created them to be, fully actualize their full potential. I tell people all the time that one of the most satisfying jobs I have as president is to talk to our alumni. And I talk to alumni who've been out 10, 20, 30, 40, even 50 years. I was just in Arizona with a number of them. And they all tell me that St. Thomas played a very, very, very significant role in forming them into the person they are today. And I want you to know that we view our job today into ensuring that your son or daughter will tell the president of St. Thomas in 10, 20, 30 years from now, how St. Thomas formed them into the purposeful, successful, fulfilled person they are at that point in their lives. So I just want to know that you have a team of people here totally committed, and they're doing fabulous work, and I know they'll continue it because it's in their hearts. So thank you for that. And let me just say a few words about experiential learning. You know, I've been in higher education for several decades now. And while I was a professor for the first two decades of my career, before I went into administration, I know that just as much or more learning happens outside the classroom. I mean, we are forming your son or daughter through all of their experiences at St. Thomas. And we call some of those experiential learning. And the ones that we're going to talk about tonight are study abroad, internships, and community engagement. And you have great leaders here tonight to tell you about their work in those respective areas. But I really want to encourage you to talk to your son or daughter about these opportunities and encourage them to partake of. Because when you think about something like study abroad, for example, and by the way, St. Thomas is ranked number 7 in the country among all universities, all universities in the country, for the percentage of our undergraduate students that study abroad. We are very committed to this experience. And when you think about what they learn from this experience, it really transforms them. They learn to experience the complexities of other cultures, the history of people around the world. They pick up or hone some language skills, but perhaps most importantly, they learn how to adapt, how to problem solve, how to face the challenges of living in another country, somewhat independently, which is good for them. Even though we always have resources there if they need them, we do let them have a little bit of independence and learn how to adapt and cope to a different culture and different situation. And that's a big part of their growing up and their whole person development. When you think of internships and volunteer opportunities, this is where our students, they gain great mentors, sometimes from our alumni. They learn, if it's a volunteer opportunity in our community, they may learn about how challenges that other people may face. They may learn what their passion is in advancing the common good. If it's a job experience or internship in a career that they think they want to pursue, they'll learn if they like it or they don't like it. And they'll develop a great professional network that will be recommenders and for them as they seek a full-time job after graduation. So all of these are growth opportunities that form our students into really the morally responsible, flexible problem solvers that are comfortable in international and multicultural settings. They're forward-thinking, they've discerned their career goals, and they understand the needs of people on the ground and around the world. So that is our focus in providing a holistic learning experience at St. Thomas, inside and outside the classroom. And these are 3 of those outside of the classroom experiences that are part of our hallmarks. So before I turn it back to Marlon and you hear from our other guests, I just want to say again that being the president of the University of St. Thomas has been the biggest blessing in my life. It's been the best job I've ever had. And I think when I do finally retire from all of my jobs, I'll still say it's the best job I've ever had. And it's because of the quality of the people here. And thank you for being a part of this family and this community. Thank you very much. So Marlon, I'll give it back to you.
Thank you, Dr. Sullivan. And I know from all of us, we really appreciate your leadership and definitely wishing you all the best. So again, thank you for joining us tonight too. So before I introduce my next colleague here, I just want to remind folks that if there are some things that one of our panelists may say, I would encourage you to use the Q&A function, not necessarily the chat function, but the Q&A section. So if there's a question that comes up, maybe a follow-up that you want to have, I would just encourage you to use the Q&A function. So next, I'll have my colleague Karen kind of introduce herself and share a little bit of her thoughts.
Thanks, Marlon. Good evening, everyone. I'm excited to be here with you. My name is Karen McCoy. I am the Associate Vice President of Alumni Career and Corporate Engagement. So this is a brand new role and a brand new way of operating at St. Thomas, and goes along a little bit with what Julie talked about in terms of really thinking holistically about the student experience and how we can engage students in a wide variety of ways. And there's a lot of overlap when you think about alumni and career and corporate engagement. And tonight, given our focus on experiential learning, I want to talk about career exploration and internships in particular, and also just give you some insight and some background into the Career Development Center at St. Thomas. We work with students at every stage of career exploration. It could be that they have no idea what they want to do. It could be that they know exactly what they want to do and just want some help in terms of how they connect with employers, how they do their resume, how they perform in an interview, et cetera. But what we do is really work with students to help them discover what success looks like for them, taking into account their values, their interests, their skills, their personality. In other words, we talk with them about what's important to them, what they enjoy, what they're good at, what comes naturally to them. And this really helps them make the most of any experiential learning that they engage in. And what we know about St. Thomas graduates is that 85% have had at least one experiential learning experience by the time they graduate. And that's pretty phenomenal. So that could include an internship. It might include a job shadow. It could include service learning. It could include a field or clinical placement. But 85% have had at least one experiential learning experience. And within that, looking at the class of 2021, we know that 67% of them had internships. And that's important because we know that students who engage in internships are significantly more likely to find full-time work after graduation. And so that's why that's important. And so we work with students in a wide variety of ways. The Career Development Center can connect with students in person, virtually, through drop-in services. There are a whole bunch of resources online in our career library where students can access information anytime, anywhere, 24/7. They have access to information. And what we know matters most, in addition to internships, are things that we refer to as really high impact career practices. So that's internships, it's networking with employers, it's connecting with alumni. Julie mentioned the alumni network, and the Tommy network is one of the most supportive communities that I have experienced. And also, getting helpful advice and creating a career plan, that all goes into student success. And so we offer a number of different things that help students gain this experience. It could be, for instance, the career treks that we have coming up on April 1st, where we're going to have a day of in-person employer visits in the Twin Cities. And then we're also going to offer some virtual visits with Chicago employers. And what these will enable students to do is learn about company recruiting strategies. For the ones that are in person, they'll be able to take tours and get a sense of the place. They can build their network, connect with alumni, connect with other professionals within the organization. So we're offering a lot of these experiences to students throughout the year. And we encourage students to start thinking about career as early as possible. Our motto is that it's never too soon. And we want to see students, again, who have no idea, as well as those who say, this is exactly what I want to do, and can you help me get there? And so thinking about how you can support your students and what you can do to encourage them along in their career journey. I think the biggest thing is to normalize the career exploration process for them, to let them know that it's okay to not know what they want to do. And one of the ways that they can discover it is through these internships, through these experiential learning opportunities, because sometimes that is a great way for students to discover what they don't want to do. For instance, I had a student in my office today, and she was saying to me that she recently connected with an alum, and in talking with him, discovered that she absolutely does not want to do what he's doing. And that's really valuable information for her to have. And that came about through her connections, through her connection with this alum that she found on St. Thomas Connect, which is a platform that all students have access to. And so again, another thing that you can encourage your students to do, encourage them to activate their account on Handshake. That is one of the simplest things that they can do. Handshake is our career services platform where students can go to look for jobs, to look for internships, to find out about events. So for instance, the career treks that I mentioned earlier, they can learn about all of that on Handshake. And because what we know for certain is that in order for students to get internships, to find these experiential learning opportunities, they first have to apply. Right? That's the first step. And they can do all of that through Handshake. So just let them know that we're here to help. There are a wide variety of services and ways that they can connect with us. And we're happy to work with students at any stage of the career exploration process. All right, I'll turn it back over to you, Marlon.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. So next, I'll have my colleague, Teresa, join us.
Thank you, Marlon. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about the Center for the Common Good. I've been the executive director for the last 5 years, and I'm really excited to tell you about the benefits of volunteering. Marlon, would you have that PowerPoint that you could put up while I'm talking, please, for those of us who are visual learners? Thank you. So our center actually works with thousands of students every year to get them into the community, to understand the community, and to help connect them to the community. There are a variety of things that are beneficial for your student when it comes to volunteering. The first, I'm going to follow up on Karen's comments about the future career success when you do volunteer. It's one of the easiest ways for students to actually try on a career. If they're a business major, we can connect them with business departments. We have students who work on marketing or accounting, and it's an easy way to see, is this the field for me? It also is a way of building the network. As students go out, they meet a lot of professionals. They link in with them on their professional social media networks. And it's a way of, when they start exploring, connecting to others who might be able to help them in the field. It also is a way to add real experience and skills to their resumes. We have a tool through TommyLink that actually comes up with a co-curricular resume. So every hour of volunteering, every skill that they learn, they can actually start that from day one and build up how many hours they have volunteered, what kind of projects did they work on, what kind of reflections did they have, what kind of skills did they learn, what kind of people did they work with. And our students say that this has been invaluable because as they build their resume, they are able to actually say, this is what I've done over the 4 years that I've been at St. Thomas. It also provides a way of building job prospects. We have a lot of students who try on something and they decide, this is for me. And when they graduate, they actually can get a job. So those are a few things in the career area that we can help with at the Center for the Common Good. We have found, though, that it also helps the students personal and holistically. So when students come, they want to feel like they belong to something. And we have found when freshmen and first-year students come right to us in their first semester, they can find people that have the same kind of values and want to contribute to community learning. We find that it increases social skills. Research shows that it builds self-esteem and confidence, being able to contribute and add to the community. It also improves attitude and health and happiness. The research on volunteering has been really robust in how adding to the community helps that student experience and actually helps that sense of belonging and improved mental health. And of course, all of this is advancing the common good. We try to find partners that are ready for the student learning and also that the student is ready to contribute. So we look at what kind of benefits can the student bring and what kind of learning can the student learn from. And these partnerships many times are lifelong. People connect with these nonprofits and continue to volunteer after they graduate. Next slide, please. There are many ways that you can enter into the Center for the Common Good. And I just want to name a few here. These aren't all of them, but they're just a couple of ways you can come in. So you can come into the center at any time and get a one-on-one consultation, find out what kind of partner you want, what kind of schedule you need. Do you need transportation? If you walk in, we're able to give you some peer mentors and help you connect to the community. If your student belongs to a club, there is a volunteer commitment there, and they can also learn from that experience. One of our most popular programs is Tutor Mentor, where we go out to about a dozen schools, and throughout the whole semester, we are working with students who want support. This is great for our education students, but it's also great for people who just want to connect to the community. Every semester, we have 40 or 50 courses that also go out into the community. And this is nice because they learn about theory and practice in the classroom, and then they work out in the communities to see what that theory looks like in practice. And we also have virtual opportunities. So if students don't have the time or want to work on the weekends or just want to fit in a virtual opportunity because they don't want to go out to the community at this point because of their schedule, we're able to do that. Next slide, please. So here are some of our popular volunteer sites. I want to point out that we have over 300 partner organizations, and we're always adding to those, and your student has access to look at what themes and availabilities and sites are available. We have over 237 engaged in change-making courses where they can get into classes and find out about these experiences. 3,000 volunteers a year, and that is growing. Our most popular nonprofits are there, but again, we have so many of them, we're able to find an opportunity for your student that will meet their needs, whether their needs are the same throughout their 4 years here or whether they continue on. You can connect with us at any time. We're open every day during the week, and we're in the Anderson Student Center in 207. Thank you very much, and I hope to see your students coming in this semester.
Thank you so much. And lastly, Sarah, would you mind introducing yourself and sharing a few thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Marlon. Hi, my name is Sarah, and I am the director in the Office of Study Abroad. Now, when it comes to study abroad, I always think that returnees are our best advocates. So I do want to show a quick video from one of our alums who spent a semester in Turks and Caicos. So Marlon, if you're able to play that video.
Okay.
The most eye-opening experience I had when studying abroad in Turks and Caicos in the spring of 2017 was through my research project working with the fishermen. I grew up fishing with my dad, but I had always thought of it as only a recreational activity. It wasn't until I lived among the fishermen of South Caicos that I realized it was much more than that. Every day that we collected data, we would dive or snorkel to do visual surveys of the fish populations on the reef. Then we headed to the fishermen's docks to identify, count, weigh, and measure their catch. Through this process, I became friends with a fisherman named Soupy. Soupy has been fishing for his entire life in order to provide for himself and his family. Throughout the semester, he would quiz us on the fish species as we were still trying to learn them, until we eventually were able to ID them almost as quickly as he did. There were some species that he called by different names than we had learned, and when we asked him why that is, he explained to us that there are some things you can study and memorize in books, and then there are some things you must learn through experience. It was through this comment that I realized he sees these fish differently than we do. To us, these fish are interesting marine organisms that we love to study, but to these fishermen, the fish were their entire livelihood. They relied on fish as a source of income, and being the avid environmentalist that I am, this was a really hard concept for me to comprehend. It wasn't until I interacted with Soupy that I understood that it wasn't really by choice. Soupy, along with many other fishermen, told us how numbers and sizes they catch have drastically decreased over the years, but yet they continue to fish because they have no other option. They have seen the changes to the reef dynamics, which is a direct result of climate change and human interference. For me, I finally realized that my actions and choices affect the friends that I have made on this tiny little island. Because of my experience on South Caicos, I am more environmentally conscious, and I strive to one day work in the sustainable fisheries field again. so that my kids and my grandkids can enjoy our beautiful ocean, along with the future generations of my friends on South Caicos. God knows what I'm headed toward.
Thank you, Marlon. So I just love that video because I think it highlights some of those experiences that we want all students to have when they study abroad. We want them to be engaging with the local community, both inside and outside of the classroom. We want them gaining insights on a new or unfamiliar culture, having their perspectives challenged and maybe changed based on the experiences that they have while they study abroad. And then, of course, taking advantage of learning opportunities that are really unique to where they are studying and maybe would not be available on campus in St. Paul. So those are things that we want all students to experience when they study abroad, regardless of the destination or the academic subject that they're studying. But I also think that the video shows that study abroad is not necessarily a one-size-fits-all type of opportunity. Not everybody wants to be like Nikki and study marine biology and go snorkeling every day. I myself really would not have enjoyed that type of experience. I don't really like snorkeling. So that type of program would not be for me. Some students study abroad and they really want to learn another language, or they want to go to a country where they have family history or family connections. Some are looking for an international internship, and some are, looking for that final class that they need to graduate. We want every student study abroad experience to meet both their academic and their personal goals. And so what that means is we have programs for every single major. We have programs on 7 different continents because we do have a program that actually goes to Antarctica for about 2 weeks to do research. And we have programs during all of our academic terms because we know some students really want to be gone for a full academic year. Others are looking for more of a 2-week, maybe spring embedded type experience. We do have students who study abroad more than once, kind of mixing and matching programs as it works for their major. And we do encourage students to really start planning as early as possible so that they can take advantage of all of the different options that are available. The process of navigating that program selection can be a little bit overwhelming. So we do have advisors in our office, both peer advisors and staff advisors, that can help students kind of navigate through that process to choose a program that's going to work for them and to help ensure that students stay on track to graduate within 4 years. More than 90% of our students do take courses when they study abroad that fulfill major, minor, and core curriculum requirements. Besides academics, finances is the other big question. How much is study abroad going to cost? The university is really supportive of study abroad, and students can use their financial aid when they study abroad for a semester. So the overall cost of a semester abroad is really comparable to being here on campus. There are many study abroad specific scholarships available as well. In general, it's our hope that study abroad can be both financially and academically accessible to all of our Tommies. And so if your student is interested in studying abroad, we really encourage them to attend one of our first step sessions. We have them available online. We are having them in person as well, or they can just stop by the Global Learning Center and start a conversation with a peer advisor or make an appointment with a staff advisor to start planning for that international experience.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sarah. So at this time, I know, again, as I mentioned earlier, we'll shift over into the Q&A. And, the first question I want to get to for you, Dr. Sullivan, can you I know you talked about this earlier, so there may be a little repeating here, but can you talk a little bit about why are these areas, when we think about the outside of the classroom, study abroad, career, volunteering, why is that important for the university, and why do we encourage students to do that?
Because these are some of the most important opportunities they have to explore and to learn and to grow. I talk to a lot of students who come to me for career advice and life advice, and I tell them their objective should be to put themselves in many different situations, study abroad, volunteer, do internships, and just learn and grow as much as they can from that experience. And it's less about what experience they choose. They shouldn't get all hung up on which study abroad or which internship or which volunteer opportunity. Just pick something and then be committed to learn and grow as much as you can from that experience. and it'll lead you to something else. So that's primarily what I would say.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Sullivan. So the next question, I think our guests, Sarah, Teresa, and Karen, either one of you can talk about this, but a few of you mentioned this earlier, but is it ever too early or too late for a student to engage with your office? Because again, I think sometimes, Sarah, you might be in your senior year as a senior and you really want to study abroad. So for all of you, is it too early or is there ever a time that it's too late to engage with your office?
I'll jump in. So I said it earlier, for us, the earlier that you connect with us, the better. There is always an opportunity at any stage. If your student is, again, just completely exploring, maybe they don't know their major, maybe they started out majoring in something and they're thinking of shifting. We can help students connect with alumni, connect with employers, connect with others who can help them figure it out. We can help them figure it out. So it's really at the earlier you connect with us, the more opportunities that they will have to step into all kinds of different experiential learning opportunities. And the more people that they'll be able to talk with, to build a network with, so that they really are positioned for success by the time they become a senior, by the time they're ready to graduate. So never too early, and certainly never too late. We continue to help students after they graduate. Alumni have access to our services as well. We understand that there are pivots and there are learnings. So never too early, never too late.
I would agree with Karen. You can come into our office starting your first week, and we can set you up with many different kinds of experiences that you will learn from and grow from. That said, we've had people come in May in the graduating year and say, I want a volunteer experience, or I want to take a gap year. And we have some wonderful postgraduate programs where people decide they want to take a year off and they want to volunteer and give back. So anytime from the day you step onto campus until the day you leave, we are able to support you.
I agree with everything my co-panelists have said. It's never too early to start planning a study abroad experience. The earlier you start planning, the more flexibility you have with your coursework, and so you'll have more programs available. But we also have students who plan to study abroad their senior year as kind of a capstone experience. So that is available as well. And then we do have resources for work abroad type programs for post-graduation. So if it doesn't work during your 4-year career, or you can't find exactly, you don't have time to do exactly what you want to do, there are opportunities after you graduate as well.
Awesome. Thank all of you for that. And so, Karen, this next question is specifically for you, and also it was also a question in the Q&A function. So I know often, there are a lot of internships. They're paid, unpaid, and sometimes parents are like, just get an experience. So should students only seek paid partnerships? Is there a way for them, if it's not unpaid, if it's an unpaid internship, are there opportunities for them to get other experiences? So is one better than the other?
Not necessarily, Marlon, and I appreciate the question. And what I will say is the majority of internships are paid. So I took a look at all of the internship postings on Handshake yesterday. There were, I think it was almost 3,000. So a wide variety of opportunities available. Of those 3,000, over 80% are paid internships. Now, to provide some context for you, in my experience, I've been in the career services field for almost 12 years. And if we go back to 2009, 2010, and the Great Recession, we saw paid internships drop to 48% of all internships. So we have seen a tremendous rebound. And we have seen that hold steady for the last few years. So paid internships are plentiful. That being said, we understand that not all students are able to take an internship that's unpaid. Many of the internships that are unpaid are in the nonprofit and government fields, the ones that you would really expect. When we come across internships that are unpaid, particularly in the for-profit space, we will have conversations with those employers and say the work that students are bringing to your organization is valuable and should be valued through pay. And so we'll have conversations. And we also understand that, again, some nonprofits, some government organizations aren't able to do that. I would say to students, don't let that stop you. Look for other opportunities to gain some experience, to make some connections. So think about things like, we have a lot of conversations with students who say, I'm working in an on-campus job. We have hundreds of students working in on-campus jobs. And they say, I'm just working in the library or in the student center, and kind of pass it off as something that's not valuable. And what we talk with students about is that every job that they're doing is an opportunity to build skills. And the fact that they are working demonstrates a lot of things in and of itself. So for instance, students don't always think about the fact that if they are balancing a full-time class load and working a part-time job and engaged perhaps in some student organizations and maybe doing some other things in the community, some volunteer work, whatever it might be, doing all of those things demonstrates their ability to manage their time, their ability to prioritize, their ability to stay organized. So even just that is a demonstration of a skill set that's really valuable to employers. So I think there's so many different opportunities for gaining skills that if it's they're coming against a barrier with an unpaid internship, that should not stop them.
Great, thank you for that too. So, this next question, and I'll give Sarah we'll start with her first, but Sarah, Karen, Teresa. So we have some, parents and families on the call who have students who might be student athletes or may have a student who has a disability or just has a special circumstance. So are there things that a student athlete may need to keep in mind, or a student with a disability, et cetera, may need to keep in mind when working with your office? And so Sarah, we'll start with you.
Yeah, so I'll start with planning early is still really important. So, if program dates are really important, so I'm thinking of student athletes, and if you have jobs and you can only be gone for a certain time, we do have, particularly in the summer, a lot of programs. Some are 3 weeks, some are 12 weeks. They're starting at different points in the summer. And so we can really work with students. If time is one of the questions, they have to be back in Minnesota for something, we can work with them to find a program that works. If you have, if you're working with our disability services office and are using them for some sort of accommodation, we can work with students to find a program abroad that can offer that same sort of accommodation. But early planning and open communication with advisors in our office so that we know what those considerations are, and we can really help you find a program that's going to meet, like I said, your academic goals and your personal goals.
Thank you. Do any other thoughts on that, Teresa? I don't know if
Yeah, we work with athletics. We work with each coach. So if somebody wants to volunteer, they can actually do it with their team. And we work with each coach on a specialized volunteer opportunity. Of course, you can go beyond that, and we would certainly set up any type of schedule. If somebody has a different ability, we will help them with transportation, help talk to the nonprofit or school to make sure that their needs are met on the other side. Especially important in the wintertime where you might encounter ice or need somebody to accompany you. We do have some organizations that require background checks. We are able to help with that as well. So if somebody needs something, again, we offer that one-on-one consultation to make sure that their experience is a successful one.
And I'll just add a couple of thoughts to that, Marlon. So we work with students as well in terms of communicating with employers. If there is an accommodation, if there are things that you want to disclose to an employer, we can work with students in terms of when do you do that? How do you do that? How do you have that conversation? The other thing in terms of student athletes, similar to what Teresa said, we are working with all of the athletic coaches, and there are actually some career requirements. So some of the workshops that we offer, knowing that student athlete schedules can be quite challenging. We actually do specific workshops for student athletes that we plan in coordination with the coaches to make sure that those are accessible to student athletes.
Awesome. So, Kira, there is one follow-up question for you, and then I'll ask Sarah a follow-up question too. So, Karen, there was a question in the Q&A. Can graduate students who are alumni or graduated from St. Thomas, can they participate in the handshake program that you?
Yeah. Yeah. So alumni have access to all of our services for life, which is pretty phenomenal when you think about that. So we have a career coach who is specifically dedicated to working with both graduate students and alumni. She is a seasoned professional who understands what it's like in terms of working with someone who perhaps has been in their career for 10, 15, 20 years and wants to make a career pivot or wants to figure out how to move up within their organization. So they can access career coaching services. They also have access to Handshake in terms of all of the jobs and internships available there. They also have access to the St. Thomas Connect platform that I mentioned earlier that is all about, it's both students connecting with alumni as well as alumni connecting with alumni. So alumni can connect with each other through that platform. And they have access to all of that as for life.
That's great. None of my colleges gave me access for life, so that's actually a really good tool there. So thank you again for sharing that. And so Sarah, the other question that was put in there, and I'm gonna give you a little small of a two-parter here. One, could a student study abroad more than once? And for a student who may be a student athlete, would they need to use their athletic funds to fund their study abroad, or should they talk with financial aid about that?
Yeah, so yes, students can definitely study abroad more than once. We have students who study abroad actually 3-4 times. I've worked with students who have done all 4 of their J terms overseas, or, we once had a student do a fall semester, a J term, and a spring semester all in the same year. So really whatever works with the student's schedule. And we have advisors in our office who can help students plan out what their study abroad opportunities might look like. But yes, definitely you can study abroad more than once. So financial aid in general can be applied, but I do always direct students to their financial aid counselor for questions about their specific financial aid package. So if your student has a scholarship, has an athletic scholarship, I would have them talk directly with their financial aid counselor and ask if it can be applied to study abroad.
Awesome, thank you. So I would really want to be mindful of time here. So I really want to encourage our parents and families to check out the websites that we have. And so the last question now open for all of our panelists here. So what advice would you offer the parents and families when thinking about encouraging their students to be involved in and outside the classroom? What advice would you offer to parents and families tonight? And Teresa, how about you start us off if that's okay?
Thanks, Marlon. I would suggest 3 things. Number 1, try to volunteer over a semester. Get to know the people, get to know the mission, get to know the organization, and you'll learn a whole lot more than just engaging in episodic volunteerism. The second thing is encourage your student to start that co-curricular transcript. Students think that they're going to remember that nonprofit and how many hours and what they learned in their first year, and they don't. And then they come back and we have to do a lot of tracking. get that co-curricular transcript started, because senior year comes around sooner than later. And then the last thing is, if there's ever a problem, either a communication or a scheduling issue, we are here and available. Encourage your student to talk to us if they don't want to or can't talk directly to the organization, and we can help engage in that conversation.
Karen, you have any advice you would like to share?
Happy to. Some of it we all already talked about, and it's worth repeating, and that is that it's never too early. It's never too early to identify experiences. It's never too early to start. It's never too early to connect with people. So that's the first thing. The other thing, I believe that Dr. Sullivan mentioned earlier, and that is that no experience is a bad experience. There is something to be learned from everything that students will engage in, whether it's study abroad, whether it's volunteering, whether it's an internship, a job shadow, an informational interview with an alum. There is always something to be gained. There is something to learn, even if that sounds terrible to me. That is a great piece of information to have. So keep that in mind. No experience is a bad experience. And connected with that, I would encourage students to really make the time and take the time to reflect on whatever experience they've had. So take the time to think about, what did I learn? What skills did I develop? What might my next step be? What else might I want to do that is related to this or not related to this? But really just to take the time and make the time to reflect on the experience and what it means in the greater context of their time at St. Thomas and the greater context of whatever their career path might be.
Awesome. Sarah, any thoughts?
So I'll reiterate, we've said this multiple times, it's never too early to start planning for some of these experiences. But the other thing that, sometimes the thought of studying abroad, being away from your family, being in another country can be a really scary thing. So just two things. We work with really great partners on site. So we're never going to be just sending your student off to be on their own. There will be someone to greet them when they get there and to facilitate their housing, and to make sure that they are having a good and safe experience overseas. And then a visual that I like to use when I talk to students about studying abroad is we all have our comfort zone and we all have our panic zone. But in between those two, we have a learning zone. And all of these opportunities that we've talked about today are really great ways to kind of push ourselves outside of our comfort zone and into our learning zone. And so take advantage of those opportunities while you're at St. Thomas, because this is the best time to do it. I really do believe that.
Marlon, my advice would follow.
Oh.
My advice would follow Sarah's, and that I was thinking, I often tell our undergraduate students, there'll never be another 4-year period in your lifetime when you have as much opportunity to invest in yourself, to be in your learning zone, to do things that just help you grow, develop, learn. So take every opportunity, because this is a luxury to have this time when truly you have these opportunities to invest in yourself. So encourage them to do so, and no experience is a bad experience. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, and I think the last thing I'll say, especially talking with parents and families, that I'll add, I think sometimes as parents and families, we have our own fears about our students going into different communities and places. And so I definitely encourage our parents and families to talk to other family members about their student going to study abroad or volunteering in another community or taking that job they didn't think was going to be fun, because I do think we all can learn and grow from each other too. So I definitely encourage our parents and families tonight to talk to other parents about their experience of their students going to a different places, out maybe sometimes out of their comfort zone or their panic zone. Because again, I definitely think some of those places that we do the most learning. So thank you all for sharing that. And I really, again, want to thank all of you for spending this evening with us, especially to Dr. Sullivan, Karen. I know y'all have been traveling a lot, so really appreciate the time and effort tonight. But before we go, I also want to thank Rick, who's in the background with IT, and Linda, who's been answering a lot of questions. Thank both of you for the time tonight. And I guess the last thing I'll say before I leave, I know is we had Women's Day and this is Women's History Month. So I want to also thank the phenomenal women I get to spend this time with tonight too. And thank you all for your leadership here on campus. And so Dr. Sullivan, again, thank you. We wish you all the best. And hopefully this won't be the last time we get to see you. Maybe you can make a guest appearance in the future at one of these, just pop up.
Anytime. And I want to
yeah.
thank you, Marlon. Thank you for the wonderful job you do. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much. So again, we will put this recording up on our website. If you have other questions, please reach out to me. I'll definitely try to get those answered as quickly as possible. So again, panelists, thank you so much. I really appreciate the time tonight.